Joe lost.
I would like to call the June 15, 2026 City Council meeting to order at 7 p.m. All rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A roll call today, Councilor Holmes, excuse absence, everybody else is present. Before we get to the agenda, I just wanted to read a little something I had written. You all probably have heard about St. Helens City Administrator John Walsh. So before we begin tonight's meeting, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the feared loss of St. Helens City Administrator John Walsh. Over the past 3.5 years, I had the privilege of working alongside John as our two cities partnered on a number of projects and shared challenges. During that time, I came to know him as a dedicated public servant, a thoughtful leader, and someone who genuinely cared about his community and the people he served. His commitment to local government and to improving the lives of others was evident in everything he did. And so on behalf of the city of Scappoose, I extend our deepest condolences to John's family, friends, colleagues, and the entire St. Helens community. Our hearts are with them during this incredibly difficult time. John's years of service and the positive impact he made throughout Columbia County will not be forgotten. And if possible, I'd like to ask that we observe a moment of silence in honor of John in support of all those mourning his passing, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Haugen.
maybe we can have something memento we can send them with all our signatures on it.
I have a few things here at the end of the meeting in our little discussion at the end. We can talk to Ben and Susan about what we have come up with something. Thank you. So now looking at tonight's agenda, I did have two things. On the consent agenda, we have a resolution 2606, workers' compensation. We've got one little change on it at the very bottom where it lists the safety volunteers, non-public. We wanted to check mark public works as well as parks and recreation. So just changing that, everything else stays the same. And that will be in the consent agenda. And
Where is this?
it's in the consent agenda, of course, at the very back of our minutes. The it should have been a copy of the draft, but that's just change this. Very back of number 1, tab 1, last page of number 1, page 20.
Page 20.
Yeah, ready for page 20.
The Bates number.
Red page 20. End of tab 1, very last page. Second to last page of tab 1.
Got it.
Just checking mark public works. That will be in consent agenda. And then we do have a resolution proclamation honoring the semi-quincentennial of the United States of America, the 250th birthday. So I was going to see if we could add that proclamation into the agenda. We can put it in the consent agenda if people desire, or we can put it in its own number, and I can do it when we get there. Anybody have a recommendation of where I should put that?
Mr. Mayor, why don't we just put it as after number 1,
Okay,
the current number 1?
1B. Right after consent agenda, I'll do a quick proclamation.
1.1.
1.1. Okay, so I'm now, there's no other changes. I'm looking for an approval of tonight's agenda with the changes.
So moved.
Councilor Haugen makes a motion to approve tonight's agenda with the changes. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Council President Miller. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are on to public comment. Place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to council regarding any matter not on the agenda and not scheduled for public hearing. Members of the public addressing council are requested to give their name and city of residence. Please try not to repeat questions to allow for more speakers. Speakers will limit their testimony to 5 minutes. We're limited to 30 minutes total. I do have one public comment. Would you like to do this now? Where we probably won't speak afterwards, or you'll have public comment at the time of the budget item. If you do it then, and we will have time, we could possibly answer and talk at that time. It's if you on the agenda, number 12 has public comments approval. It will be under the section Resolution 2610, a resolution establishing all fees and charges for the city of Scappoose. Okay. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that. So tonight's consent agenda, May 18, 2026 City Council Work Session Minutes, May 18, 2026 City Council Meeting Minutes, updated resolution number 2606, a resolution of the City of Scappoose repealing Resolution 2506 and extending workers' compensation cover to volunteers of the city. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Councilor Halligan makes a motion to approve. Any seconds? Second by Councilor Santiago. Any more discussion?
Mr. Mayor, just
Yes.
to be clear on what we just went over, so resolution 26-06 under section number 4, we checked public works. That was not previously checked
Yes.
in the packet.
Updated resolution number 2606. Yes. Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 1.1 proclamation honoring the semi-quincentennial of the United States of America. Whereas on July 4th, 1776, a bold vision for freedom was declared to the world. The Declaration of Independence was adopted, affirming the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by setting forth the foundation of a free and self-governing nation. Whereas the year 2026 marks 250 years since that historic moment, offering an opportunity to reflect on the struggles, triumphs, and the enduring spirit that have defined our national story. Whereas City of Scappoose stands proudly among communities across our great nation in recognizing the milestone as a time to honor our shared heritage, celebrate our diversity, and recommit ourselves to the ideals that bind us together. So now, therefore, I, Joe Backus, with the advice and support of the Scappoose City Council, do her proclaim the year 2026 as America's 250th commemorative year in the city of Scappoose, and encourage all residents to take part in celebrations, events, programs, and moments of reflection that honor our past, celebrate our present, and inspire our future. And we did this today because at our last meeting, this will be our own, we won't have another meeting until after the 4th of July. So we'd like to get this done. Makes sense to do it before than after. Appreciate it. Okay, on to number 2. We are to hold a public hearing to determine if the city should elect to receive state shared revenues. Finance Administrator Carol Ulmer, if you'd like to. Is that the right one?
CP.
God, where is that? I skipped a page. Pulled out that page. My bad. Number 2, community. I actually was going to move NJ to the end, so you'd have to be here at the meeting. Since it's the last one. Okay. 2026 Community Enhancement Program Allocations, Assistant City Manager and Assistant City Planner NJ Johnson. We'll let you go.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for keeping me on schedule. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you all for putting in your allocations. We have kind of like a combined system from the old way of doing it and then last year's way of doing it, where you all had individual allocations of around $2,857. The mayor had an extra dollar, just to round that out to 20,000 even. The allocations also required a minimum of a $250 contribution to an organization in order to count that old eligibility vote that we used to have 2 years ago. And so now they would need at least 4 of those in order to be considered eligible. With your allocations, 7 of the 11 applications that moved on are considered eligible for funding. And then we added up based on how much you all shared with me individually, and obviously separately to conform to Oregon Public Meeting Law. So table 1 shows all of the individual counselor allocations. Table 2 shows the cumulative allocations in relation to how much they asked for and whether that exceeds what they asked for, which this program cannot do, or whether it falls short of their ask, in which case we will talk about options for that later. So on the far right column of table 2, you see with all of your allocations added up, what each organization would be awarded. So council kind of has 3 options to go from here. You can do as you did in the original one. However, with the total program budget of $20,000, there's also the option to give every eligible organization or project their ask. Going with the way the original allocations are, it would be a savings to the general fund of about $4,500. And then if you did the second option, which is, give all up to the amount that they requested, it would be about $1,500 savings for the general fund. Staff, and then option 3 is some combinations. You could go up to the ask for some, or keep it where it is for others. And then in which case the savings would be between those 2 numbers. Staff is recommending option 2, since it still provides some savings to the general fund, but also just with the general weirdness, there's naturally going to be overages. People made allocations to organizations that weren't deemed eligible, and so there's money lost there. There's people that got way more than their ask, but we can't give them way more than their ask. So just with the kind of weirdness of the system, staff is recommending full allocations and still providing some additional cushion to the general fund than what we thought. There's suggested motions in there for each of the 3 options. And I'll leave it at that.
Quick question I have, about how much did we have last year?
For the program, 42,000.
42. So we're able to save 22,000 minimum. Well, I guess.
There. So basically the whole budget was 20,000. So looking at, I'm trying to be fair, looking at option 1, 2, and 3. So if we do the option 1, we're following protocol, the process and everything, what we allocated. And then if we do option 2, we're ignoring all the whole process, but then everybody wins. So I'm just trying to say, why do we do the scoring, the process? If we had 20 and if we funded everyone, it would have still been under budget. So that's just
Still,
putting it out
we
there
eliminated 4 of the requests with the process.
with the process, right? But the ones that are eligible, we would have been able to fund them all. Anyway, I'm just.
Yeah, had they pulled the 4 out that were not eligible, I would have allocated my money differently, obviously. But I would have given out what I had left. Do we have to, because you said public meeting, do we have to change our votes? I mean, if we were to go with option 2, do we have to change our allocations?
Well, no, because this sort of sets the stage. So you all you can't vote via email, obviously. And so this sort of just sets it up for an official action of council. It is one of the ones you can do, the individual scoring allocation. But they're not actual recorded votes. So no, you don't have to amend it in that way.
Right. So you could go through each of the eligible ones if you wanted to, line by line, saying, do we want to do this one all the way up or not? Because you do have money left over to spend as far as where our budget is. But if you want to go, speaking for someone like Mayor Backus, who his funds were originally listed for those who did not get eligible, he would have been able to add. So it gives you that ability to add as a council to vote as a majority to say if you want to add any to those who were not fully funded, basically. So you wouldn't have to do all seven, just be those who weren't fully funded, determine if we want to change those allocations or just keep them as they were allocated.
Or option two, we have the ability to just make a vote as a
Right.
council
Mhm.
to vote to give everybody, all seven that were their award.
Yeah, it's the recommended motion for number two is giving all
Right.
everybody what they asked for and saving $1,461.
Fine with that one.
Yeah, that's my favor. I mean, it seems equitable.
Okay, Mr.
Yes, Council President Miller.
I move that council award $2,399 to Grace Christian's Children's Center, $1,200 to Scappoose Community Club, $3,000 to Scappoose Community Connection, $3,000 to Scappoose Elementary Parent Organization, $3,000 to Scappoose Historical Society, $3,000 to Scappoose Kiwanis Youth Rec Center, and $3,000 to Scappoose Public Library for the 2026 Community Enhancement Program.
Motion by Council President Miller to approve option number two and all those amounts. Is there any seconds?
Second.
Second by Councilor Ryuda. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you'll be back next year to do this again?
I get to charge consultant bucks now.
Well, there, luckily, we just saved 1,400. So we can
The
set
Great
that
mentor
aside.
you have there.
Okay, appreciate it. Moving on, number three, contract authorization, Veterans Park Extension Phase 1 project. Public Works Contract Administrator Mattia Malberg with the staff report. Get the next four.
Yep. Good evening. This one is for the Veterans Park Extension and the authorization between the city and Harper Howe Peterson Regelis Incorporated, HHPR, for the remainder of this, because I'm not great at pronouncing that name. For the design and construction oversight of Veterans Park Extension Phase 1. On April 22nd, the city published solicitation for an RFP that includes the design and construction oversight for this project. The solicitation was placed in the Business Tribune, Columbia County Spotlight, Oregon Buys, and on the city's website. Proposals were received on May 14th, where they were reviewed and scored by a committee of the city staff during the week of May 18th. After the final review, the scores and the tabulation of the scores presented by the scoring committee, it was found that HHPR was the highest proposer with a total score of 86.83 out of 100 possible points. Due to the clear high scoring, the committee determined that there was no need to conduct interviews with the proposing firms. On May 28th, the notice of intent to award was emailed to all proposers and posted on the city's website, and the city received no protests. The city has received $1 million in grant funds from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for the construction portion of this project. The design and construction oversight will be funded through park funds and SDCs. The design and construction oversight scope and associated fees proposed by HHPR is $381,389.55. Staff recommends contracting with HHPR at the amount of $381,390. Then staff recommends that council approve authorizing city manager Bergener to enter into a contract with HHPR for the design and construction oversight of the Veterans Park Extension Phase 1 and further authorize the city manager to execute change orders to the contract that do not individually exceed his limit.
Question I have, what exactly falls under design and construction oversight?
So the design is going to be the full layout on map for this phase, which includes a sports field, parking lot, restroom. And then the construction oversight would be helping the city to put in that construction ITB documents, help with any questions during that process, and then make sure throughout the course of the construction that winning company is staying on task as they should. So the contract management, is that what I'm understanding?
Slightly. They just,
Project management, contract management, what is, yeah?
Right, design with some project management, because they were doing the design as well.
But
The full
the
design.
design, but as far as the work, they're not doing the work.
No,
they're
they're not,
just
they won't be doing
overseeing.
dirt. Yeah. Yeah, for this price, it's not part of them doing any dirt work.
They do all the engineering of the design and all the prints, everything.
That's correct.
To come up with the design.
Um,
Go ahead.
Are they going to be subcontracting the work or how is, or is that a separate, that's the separate ones that we're talking about here next?
so they're just, for this, it's just the engineering design and then creating the construction bid documents to then find a construction company to perform that
To
work.
do the work.
Mhm.
So this bid, how many bidders do we have? It didn't say, and
Yeah, we had a total of 6.
six, and the scoring, were they off? I mean, you said that you didn't do interviews, so were they, the pricing was way, low?
So
or
for this, we didn't receive pricing. It was purely based off of,
qualification?
Mhm.
And so so you're scoring them, I'm just wondering why, I'm just like the other time, where the scoring was, which was the next,
yeah, the next company.
Yeah, like what's the difference?
The difference was a total of about 4 points. So
Wow, that's
this
close.
company was 86.83 and the other was 82.6.
They were pretty close for no interviews, right?
Yes, they were all, the next one down was also 4 points. It was a pretty tight between all of them, but in general, the scoring committee decided that HHPR was the one to go with.
It'd be great to find out why they thought about that. I mean, it was just really close in points. I can see that if there's a big gap, but just to know for transparency purposes, why they didn't feel like they interview or they just said, hey, you guys want it, or just more clarification.
Yeah, I can
Transparency.
get clarification at a later date and let you know.
Have we done work with these before?
Not to my knowledge.
So Mattia, HHR, is that a Portland firm? Is it,
I believe they are based out of the Portland area, yes.
and what, can you give us a range of the bids? So for what was the range of bids from among the 6?
So there was no bid pricing for this. It was just qualifications. Or
Oh,
did
okay,
you?
so
So how do you come up with the funding proposed amount? After the fact, you ask them?
Yes, so after they receive the notice of intent toward based off of the qualification scoring, then we ask for a scope and fee at that time.
And is that kind of negotiate, you look at that scope and you go over it and
Correct.
come to an agreed upon fee?
Correct.
Did you think that, did they come in the range or did they come under what you thought was gonna be the cost of that? Because then you said they were pretty low. What you thought, I thought you said something like that, but,
I don't
Or
know
the-
if I comment on this one.
okay, so basically, did you guys have a price and then they come within that range, or did they come below that range of what you thought?
They were slightly above in their initial scope and fee proposal, but the staff still is negotiating exactly what we want within that scope. So we're confident that we are going to come in underneath the proposed contract amount, which was their scope and fee amount.
I'm sorry, so they came up higher than?
No, so they were within the range that we expected.
They were within the range.
And you guys obviously do studies and check other parts and other design, get an idea of how much these are gonna cost on average for the rest of the state. I mean, we kind of know what everything costs. But they can throw out a number and we're just like, okay, that's great, without knowing that. I mean, is this just like an amount of hours they say it's gonna take to do the job and at this rate, and it comes up to that amount, or we kind of know what a design and construction, you guys have done enough construction design work to know what it goes for, the going rate.
Correct. Yeah, we typically, I mean, Chris is here. He usually provides an estimate on most engineer things. Dave, when he was here, he provided a lot of that as well. So before we go into that, we usually have a rough idea of what we're looking for, what we're expecting with that. Maybe formulate our budget around that. It's not always exact. I mean, sometimes bids come in higher or low. It's always just an estimate, but we have a ballpark idea when we put these things together.
I think Dave most of the time comes in and says, yeah, it was where we thought it would be. It's very fair for what we thought.
So, Mr. Mayor, so I'm still a little fuzzy on this. So you have 6 bidders and the RFP didn't specify an amount.
It was just based off of qualifications.
Okay, and so is that standard? I mean, it seems like RFP process, you would submit your bid with an amount. What you're gonna bid for, what your services are gonna cost.
Yeah, so for this, we really wanted to base it off of the proposed design. So as Councilor Santiago said, it was more of a request for qualifications as opposed to a request for proposals.
We've used this process before in wastewater,
Okay,
and you look at their scenario, their ideas, what grade and score that, and then you negotiate a price. If that price, you can't come to agreement, then you can go to the next one.
okay, so this has been productive in the past, where you're not getting bent over the wheel.
Right. You don't have to keep going forward if it comes with a bid. That's just when the price comes out
Okay.
of whatever. You're like, whoa, that's crazy. You can always say, no, maybe not.
This was a design process too, though, correct? That's why they can't define the requirements in a typical RFP or
Right.
ITB, because
Okay.
they're asking for their concept basically, and then you basically evaluate based on qualifications, what you're seeing that they proposed, and then staff basically has an idea of what that should cost. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I guess that's the whole thing. You guys like their ideas of their design
That's correct.
versus the other bidders.
Yep, their idea of the design, the previous projects, and examples that they had submitted, their staffing qualifications. We asked for quite a bit of information in this.
All right, no more discussions. Looking for someone to make a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Howland.
I move that council authorize city manager Bergener to enter into the contract with HHPR for the design and construction oversight of the Veterans Park Extension Phase 1 project, and further authorize the city manager to execute change orders to the contract that do not individually exceed his limit.
A motion by Councilor Haugen to authorize city manager Bergener to enter into a contract with HHPR for the design and construction oversight of the Veterans Park Extension Phase 1 project, and further authorize the city manager to execute change orders to the contract that do not individually exceed his limits. Any second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Marquis. Any more discussion?
I do want to comment, in the future, I would love just to get more information on special in projects like this, qualifications, especially if there's no price linked to the selection, then what is it? It was obviously the design, so it would have been much clearer to understand why they were chosen.
Okay, I can do that.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to number 4, Southeast Pavement Overlay Project Contract. Public Works Contractor Administrator Matia Malberg with the staff report.
This contract is for the overlay paving of several city-owned streets. Staff worked with Kittleson and Associates to develop construction plans and bidding documents to invite contractors to bid the project. The city received 9 responsive bids by the May 26th due date, the details of which are included in this table. K&L Industries submitted the lowest responsible bid and should be awarded the contract to complete the work associated with this project in accordance with city and state procurement procedures. Staff issued the notice of intent to award to K&L Industries on May 27th, starting the required bid protest period, which expired on June 9th, and we received no protests during this period. The contract value is $318,945. This amount does allow for contingency during the course of the project. Staff recommends the council authorize city manager Bergener to enter the city into a contract with KNL Industries for the Southeast Pavement Overlay Project.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilman.
I move the council authorize city manager Bergener to enter the city into a contract with KNL Industries for the 2026 Southeast Pavement Overlay Project not to exceed $318,945.
I have a motion by Council President Miller to authorize City Manager Bergener to enter the city into a contract with KNL Industries for the 2026 Southeast Pavement Overlay Project. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Councilor Ryuda. Discussion.
One point of discussion. So this will be the event. So will there be any potential for negotiating for an extension to this paving process for the Miller pickleball courts?
Yeah, I would keep that separate from this. We already have projects out there with the wastewater plant. Kevin's already working on.
Okay, so we're already covering.
Yeah, we're already working on some different ideas, yeah.
I'm just curious, what is the scope of this southeast overlay? There's no indication how much work's actually getting done here.
I believe it is 4 separate streets. Sorry, I don't have the specifics. I can't get that to you at a later date.
Chris, do you have that?
So it's basically from, it's 3rd Street from East Columbia down to, let's see, down to Maple. And then it's Myrtle and Oak from 3rd to 4th. And then it's Elm from 4th east to 6th. And those are pretty heavily trafficked. Well, the Elm and the 3rd are pretty heavily trafficked corridors. And so we wanted to target those. It does address some stormwater issues. And then Myrtle and Oak, if you recall, we just replaced water lines on both of those streets in support of the Habitat for Humanity project. So there's extensive street cuts for all of the water line services that are new and the new water main. So it's a pretty diced up street. And so we felt like we wanted to go and overlay that to make it look like it should. That's a scope over. And the bid price came back much less than Dave and I thought it would be. So we feel like that's a really good number.
And this is for the design.
No, this is just for so on the design, so on contracting for consulting services, if you're under a certain threshold, you can basically just ask for a fee and base it on that, and then kind of direct a point based on fee. You can do selection based on fee. Over a certain amount, you have to do it by qualifications, which was what you had asked about previously. There's a limit in Oregon statute for certain contract values. At a certain level, you cannot select based on fee. So that's why in the prior project for veterans, you have to do selection based on qualifications. I believe it's 100,000. I'd have to verify that, but on this one, we direct appointed for the consulting services. It was I think around 20,000, and then we went out RFP for the construction. This is just all construction. The plans are designed and ready to go. The whole bid package was ready to go.
This is a complete, I mean, this doesn't count all the pavement and sidewalks and.
All of these roads don't have any sidewalks. There might be there's one little stretch on Elm that has sidewalk. That's it.
But this doesn't build sidewalks.
No, this is just in the roadway. And it does try to address some stormwater. So
And it does it to where sidewalks can go in at a later time or can be retrofit. I mean, or do we?
it doesn't address sidewalks, because with sidewalks, you need curbs.
Yeah.
And you need stormwater, and you need to, it's a much bigger project. You're getting into people's frontages and, yeah.
Right, but the question was, this specific bid was for construction plans and bidding that they will be putting
No,
together.
the plans are done. This is just for construction. This is just construction. The plans.
289 pays for the construction.
Huh?
The 289 pays for construction.
Correct.
Yes. The 289, it's just for
Just paving.
construction.
Oh, I read that wrong. Kittleson Associates did the plans already.
Yeah.
Yes, KNL is doing the
Oh.
paving.
And I actually have a copy of the plans with me if you guys
I
want to see.
see now. I thought this to develop construction plans and bidding documents.
I read the wrong spot too.
But they already
Yes.
did that. This is to build. This doesn't have anything to do with the school project around the schools where we're using gas tech money to do sidewalks and overlay. That's close, but.
So that's a separate,
Project.
project that actually was approved for engineering. And so that's kicking off imminently. The consultant just got the survey back on those 3 streets late last week. So they're starting on the design currently. And that's all the feeder streets that come into Grant Watts, basically 5th, Vine, and 3rd Place. I have one copy of this.
Basically, it's concrete work, right?
What's that?
Concrete work or
Pavement.
gravel.
Those for
asphalt.
the southeast Vine Street, 3rd Place, and 5th Street, that will be the full street section with everything, curb, sidewalks. We're replacing some utilities,
What's the
lighting
ETA of
water.
when this would be started?
for the paving overlay,
Yeah.
this paving overlay imminently.
Yeah,
They're ready to go.
done during the summer.
Yeah.
Correct.
Most likely.
As soon as they're ready to go.
All right, any more discussion? Being none, I have a motion with a second. All those in favor state by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. On to number 5, contract authorization for extension, Consor Engineering. Over with the staff report on this as well.
This is for the authorization of an extension on previously authorized contract for Consor Engineers for completion of the wastewater treatment plant Phase 1. On October 21st, 2024, council approved the contract with Consor in the amount of $835,592 for the engineering consultation and project management services of the wastewater treatment plant Phase 1 project. Amendment 1 was executed in November of 2024 that extended the scope and fees to cover additional work for permitting and bidding, a total of $67,362. Amendment 2 was executed in May, which extended the contract end date to September 30th, 2026. And amendment number 3 was proposed by Consor Engineering in May of 2026. This proposed amendment includes additions to the following tasks and is an additional $29,939. Reoccurring contractor coordination meetings, shop drawing and materials submittal review, field administration, and on-site observation are the items listed. The current contract amount, which includes the original contract total and the addition of Amendment 1, is $902,954. The addition of proposed Amendment 3 will bring that total to $932,893. Staff recommends that council approve authorizing City Manager Bergener to enter into a 3rd amendment with Consor Engineering and further authorize City Manager to execute change orders to the contract that do not individually exceed his limit.
Do we feel that this is the last one? And then,
Well,
when is the completion date?
Completion date's in July this year.
Yeah, theoretically, it should be the last one, but we put in the, not to individually exceed, so we won't have to bring something back if it's $10,000 or whatever. Not likely, but bringing this for 29,000 kind of brought that to rephrase how we wrote is for the council, so we can get this finished, especially due to the timeliness of getting this done.
Mr. Mayor.
1 week delay or anything that would, yes.
So this one raises some questions for me because they're service-based and at the end. So reoccurring contractor coordination meetings and field administration, on-site observation. So did we use up like a bucket of hours or something that was included in the initial and we're having to extend that or?
Right, Amendment 2 the original contract went to May 2026, we extended to September, so there's an extra
So it
Service
just
amounts
includes
in
the
there.
labor. Oh, okay, got it.
So,
Right.
so we extended it?
Right, yeah, we extended per the request. I mean,
Okay.
the project's not done. We didn't want to lose our engineer oversight in that time. so
Yeah,
we
their
extended.
original contract actually expired today, so we amended it.
Okay, so that does make sense. Okay.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Council President Miller.
I move the council authorize city manager Bergener, sorry, to enter into a third amendment to the city contract with Consort Engineering with a total contract amount not to exceed $932,893, and further authorize the city manager to execute change orders to the contract that do not individually exceed his limit.
Motion by Council President Miller to authorize City Manager Ben Bergener to enter into a third amendment to the city contract with Consor Engineering with a total contract amount of $932,893. And further authorize the city manager to execute change orders to the contract that do not individually exceed his limits. Any second?
Yeah, I second.
Our key seconds. Any more discussion?
I do have a question for you guys. Do you guys justify the cost to what they're proposing? Okay,
Yeah, we review when they propose any of these things, any of these amendments before we bring it or approve it.
because first of how it presented, seems like they requested it, but it seems like because we extended it, that's why.
We extended it and they came back and requested, hey, if we're gonna extend this,
That
we're
makes
we're
sense.
using
Okay.
extra money here.
Yeah.
so.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On number 6, resolution 26-04, resolution of the city of Scappoose authorizing a loan from the Special Public Works Fund. City, my Public Works Contract Administrator Mattia Malberg with this. One last time.
Last one. The city's loan application with Business Oregon Special Public Works Fund for the Basalt Well project was approved on April 27th, 2026. The loan is for $2.5 million with a 3.84% interest rate. The city does not anticipate using the entirety of the loan. Interest on loan accrues as each disbursement is made to the city. However, funds from this loan will not be available to the city for project expenditures until a contractual agreement has been entered into by both the city and Business Oregon. Finalizing said agreement requires the passage of this resolution, which authorized Mayor Backus to execute the agreement, outlines sources of repayment, the city's tax exempt status, and details on reimbursement bonds. The resolution must be adopted as written by Business Oregon. Staff recommends council approve resolution 2604 and authorize Mayor Backus to enter into a contractual agreement with the Special Public Works Fund of Business Oregon in order to finalize the loan for the Basalt Well project.
How is the well going? Where are we now?
We're about 365 feet. They've been through a couple of clay layers and they have to go back and ream, get that cleared out so it stops squeezing. But they are moving a lot better than the previous group.
And they feel confident in the problem that we were having before, that they feel that this will get through that and confident there's water there. I mean, did we hit the basalt layer at one time? So it's
Yeah,
gonna be there.
835 feet of basalt layer, and they're on target for that. And
What was that number?
835 feet, and I believe the contract will take them as far as 1,200 feet if they need it.
But no, I can't say they would be confident that there's water there. It's unknown at this time. So theoretically, most basalt layers have
I
that.
was gonna say, did we get a crystal ball somewhere?
No.
Okay. So this will continue and, this is a loan and it's paid back by, water bills over the years. And this should, if good, it should provide water for a long time, lots of housing businesses. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was a no vote on this earlier on here because I think it's not promising, but we are where we are. And so since this is not really anything out of our budget, we're going to get repaid from Business Oregon. So I don't have any issues with that.
I passed the point of no return.
Right.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2604.
Mayor,
Counselor Santiago.
I move City Council approve Resolution 2604 and authorize Mayor Backus to enter into a contractual agreement with Special Public Works Fund at Business Oregon in order to finalize the loan for the Basalt Wells project.
Santiago makes a motion to approve resolution 2604 and authorize Mayor Backus to enter into a contractual agreement with the Special Public Works Fund at Business Oregon in order to finalize the loan for the Basalt Wells project. Any second?
Second.
By Counselor Haugen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done with the procurement related items now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
This wastewater rates.
If I may, I would like to make a request related to these future actions that come in front of us related to procurements. When there's a contingency included, if we can please include the percentage of the contingency and the amount.
Okay.
And then also just in the suggested motion, especially when there is a contingency, just putting in the wording not to exceed. And then I feel like the last sentence of these motions is kind of conflicting. Specifically, it's the language and further authorize the city manager to execute change orders to the contract that do not individually exceed his limit. So the problem I have with that is that normally these are very high dollar contract amounts and they come in front of us and we generally like to know what's going on and why they're exceeding their previous authorized amounts. For me, I don't feel comfortable with the city manager unilaterally extending purchasing authority after, in this case, we've already spent and authorized 932,000. I think it would be good for council to hear why that amount is exceeding and not unilaterally give a authorization for the city manager to basically authorize additional amounts. Does that make sense? I don't know how the rest of council feels about that, but
I
that's
agree.
my opinion on it.
The comment of that came from a recommendation from our council, Ashley Dougal, because as a standard where she usually recommends for other cities as well. Because when you're working with these larger contracts, 800,000, a million, several million, my limit isn't that high compared to the overall dollar amount. For example, this one that came at 29,000, having to wait to bring something like that to council. Sometimes the waiting on that may cost us additional money compared to just being able to execute something like that. Another proposal could be as opposed to individually, but we could put it as collaboratively, like all their change orders have to stay within my limit combined before it comes back to council. So it stays within that limit, which is usually relatively small compared to the total price, just so we can get through these. And I mean, we could still bring them to council, but that was the idea is, once again, because it's such a high dollar amount, my limit in respect to that is very small.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. And kind of a little bit more of the context that I'm coming from is we have these presentations and generally council has questions. And sometimes we push back on different things. And sometimes we have a little bit of heartache over certain things. And we move forward, we approve something, and then we do a not to exceed, which is usually what, a 10% contingency on these things. So the 10% contingency has already been used on $932,000. That's already a considerable amount of money. And then we're basically giving unilateral authorization for, what's your limit, 20, 30, 50?
It's 75.
75,000. So I get what you're saying, and that's just my feeling of it. I don't, but at the same time, I hear what you're saying, and I don't want to hold up a project either. So.
Right. When I saw that for individually, I actually went back to Mattia and said, maybe we should do this as a collab, like a consolidated, all
So
change orders not to exceed my limit combined, so that if it ever got beyond that 75, it comes back to council for a more thorough discussion, but then we can take care of the smaller items just at the end. And not all of them always have a contingency, like the early one today that didn't have a contingency involved in that. So it depends on how it came to council initially. We try to have those contingencies, but sometimes we don't.
Okay, so if I may, just listening to what you had to say, so what I would prefer is that unless there is a situation where time is of the essence and you feel like, you know, we need to act immediately and it is within your limit, that it is brought to council. I think that's a fair compromise. In my opinion, is that if there is time to bring it to council, and we're not gonna cost the city more money or some loss of time that is, has some sort of significant consequence, that it should come to council.
Yeah, and maybe it could be approved at my limit and then brought to council next council meeting, just so there's keeping it up to date with everybody either way.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work on this too.
Thanks.
All right. Number 7, resolution 2605.
Good evening, everybody. We're here tonight for a resolution amending City of Scappoose wastewater rates and rescinding Resolution 2210. In order to ensure long-term sustainability, reliability, and financial health while providing reliable quality services to our customers, it's important to have a rate structure that carefully balances affordability while generating sufficient revenue to support department operations, maintenance, regulatory compliance, capital improvements, and debt obligations. The department has a responsibility to protect public health, environmental quality, and community well-being, both local and downstream. This includes ongoing operations and maintenance of facilities, in-ground pipes, pump stations, vehicles, equipment, emergency response capabilities, as well as maintaining compliance with rigid state and federal regulations. Additionally, we must plan for growth, aging infrastructure replacement, and system resiliency. Our rate structure focuses on promoting fairness, sustainability, and financial stability across all customer classes. Rate equity means that each customer class contributes an appropriate share toward the demands and service provided. In recognizing the different demands each class contributes, we need to ensure that no single customer class disproportionately subsidizes another. Over the past year, staff has provided multiple presentations outlining the alternatives and approaches to adjusting the rate structure to meet these needs. Through collaboration with council, professional partners, and neighboring cities, staff has developed a rate realignment structure that more accurately reflects the community's contributions to the system demands, cost, responsibility, and long-term community benefit. Exhibit A is a resolution 2605, and Schedule A is the proposed wastewater rate realignment schedule as discussed on May 18th. Staff recommends council adopt resolution 2605.
Questions?
Like we had stated earlier, we have used quite a bit of our urban renewal funds to pay towards the wastewater treatment facility to help keep rates down. And so even with that, there are increases needed and realignment.
Have we seen a recent comparison to where we're coming in at compared to cities around us?
I think in the presentation that we did last May, that was
Okay.
all included in that, yeah.
And so hard to tell if there's the changes here, but you could see the breakdown based on kind of uses and.
The main changes are the classifications were reduced. There was a ridiculous amount of classifications, so those were reduced and classified into how they contribute to the treatment process. So there's on the commodity side, there's bigger fixed rates and more focus on the commodity side.
Right, and this is the outcome of the work session we did last council meeting where we talked about it was normally going to be per the plan that they had done when they did the rate study. It was supposed to be a 7% this year. We were able to reduce that to 5 as opposed to 7. So there was a reduction for savings for the general public compared to what it would have been based off of the recommended amounts way back when they did the rate study. As you said, it reduced the commodities. There's a little bit more shift towards the commercial, and
There's not a big overall change
Right.
in how it affects the revenue this year.
And this is for July 1 rates, correct? So,
What the
Yeah. I wish Kim was here to be in on this, but.
And that there's a built-in 3% increase per year. That's part of this as well.
Right, that was part of that. So as opposed to,
Starting
yeah,
next
another
year.
three. Including the three.
This is also gonna make our rates so much simpler. Right now, we've got like 20 different rates for sewer, and we're gonna go to 3. So it's gonna be much simpler process.
Mr. Mayor,
Council Hogan.
I motion council adopt resolution 26-05, a resolution amending the city of Scappoose wastewater rates, fees and charges and rescinding resolution 22-10.
A motion by Councilor Haugen to approve resolution 2605, resolution amending the city of Scappoose wastewater fees, rates and charges, rescinding resolution 2210. Any second? Second by Councilor Santiago. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any industrial users? I mean, that
No.
are.
We do not have any industrial.
Yes.
Yeah.
The rates are in section 12.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 8. In the budget items, hold a public hearing to determine if the city should elect to receive state shared revenues. Finance Administrator Carol Ulmer, explaining what that means.
Okay, every year, the state requires that we have a public hearing to determine if we're going to receive state shared revenue. State shared revenue are things like cigarette tax, liquor tax, ODOT, marijuana tax, state shared revenue tax. It's money the state has that they allocate to cities based on their size, population. And we do this every year. There are some requirements that we have to have police, fire, street. We well qualify. But we have to determine, do we want to get this money to the general fund? And kind of the answer is a no-brainer, yes, we want the money. You know, so, but we have to go through this every year.
And we will vote on it later throughout, but this is
Yeah, the
now
two
a public
resolutions.
hearing. So I will now open a public hearing if anybody wants to speak on whether or not we should receive state shared revenue. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and we will move on. Number 9, resolution 2607, a resolution certifying that the city of Scappoose meets all requirements to receive state shared revenues for fiscal year 26-27. Carol with that as
So
well.
this is step 2 in the state shared revenue process. And that is, we need to document that, yes, we have police, we have street construction, we have sewer, we have storm, we have domestic water, we have planning zoning. We qualify well to receive this. But this resolution 2607 just says, yes, we do have all these things. And so we are eligible to receive this state shared revenue.
Now I'm looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2607.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve resolution 2607.
President Miller makes a motion to approve resolution 2607. Any second? Second by Councilor Santiago. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next one, number 10, resolution 2608, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenue for fiscal year 26-27 for the city of Scappoose. Finance Administrator Carol Ulmer, that as well.
So this is step 3 in the process. We have to say, yes, we want to elect to receive this money with this resolution 2608.
So now I'm looking for someone, there's no discussion, to make a motion to approve resolution number 2608.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Haugen.
I move we approve resolution number 26-08.
Councilor Haugen moves that we approve resolution 26-08. Any second? Second by Councilor Marquis. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we are on to the budget. Number 11. Resolution number 2609 is adopting the city of Scappoose budget, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem tax levy, and classifying the levy as provided by ORS 310.060-2 for fiscal year 2026-27. One more time, Finance Administrator Carol Alman, staff report there.
Okay, so we did have one budget change. We had a number of changes that are documented on page 61 of your list there. We did have a $400,000 addition to the budget. It was revenue for a grant that we're hoping we'll get and to spend that revenue. And so that was the only budget resolution that changed, the only number that changed. We did increase the budget, and that was approved by the budget committee. That's page 35 through 39. Other changes to the budget between the proposed and adopted. There are a couple of things. If you look at your pages, you've got more columns, which is required by the state. And that, we've updated all the tables to match with the new numbers. And I did add a page that listed all our debt service that was mentioned in the budget hearing, and I added the dates showing that when we expected those to be paid off. So I tried to get this so it'd be all ready for next year to be in there. So we're asking you to approve the budget of $45,162,488 that was approved by the budget committee.
Page 174 has that new debt service loans on it.
Yeah, it's for clarification. It's the Bates number 174 in our packet. It's 113 of the budget document.
Second, yeah. So what pages are you looking at?
The Bates is 174,
So it's-
113.
In the
I'm sorry,
packet, it's
yeah.
170 more, but for the
Okay.
budget documents, 113.
Yes, 174, yes. And all I did, this was the same table that you saw in the proposed budget, but I did add the dates, the scheduled payoff here. Now I did add that column. So it'll be there for next year. Yeah, we did it in next year.
All right. One, I would like to definitely thank our budget committee. I mean, they spent a lot of time looking at this. They don't ask a lot of questions during the meeting, but they are asking you questions throughout for the weeks leading up to it. You and Ben and asking us questions about it and bringing things to our attention. So I want to definitely thank them for all their work. Any more questions? If not, I will open a public hearing to discuss the adoption of the Scappoose City budget. Anybody would like to discuss that? It is a public hearing, so I will allow the public to speak on the budget itself. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Nothing's online, Susan. I could get attention. Okay, I'll close public hearing and look for a motion to approve resolution 2609.
Isn't that where she wanted to speak?
No, I think we're gonna, are you looking more at number 12?
Yeah.
I mean, you can either one, it's fine, but it's all encompassing, but we'll have comment there. Question. Any motions to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council approve and adopt resolution 2609, adopting the city of Scappoose budget, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem, I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
Tax levy and classifying the levy as provided by ORS 310.060, section 2 for fiscal year 2026 through 2027.
Motion by Council President Miller to adopt resolution 2609, adopting the Scappoose budget, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem tax levy and classifying the levy as provided by ORS 310.060-2 for fiscal year 26.7. Any second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Haugen. In discussion, the ad valorem, is that basically accepting our tax rate of
Yes.
what it is per thousand?
Yeah.
Our permanent tax rate.
0.2268, I believe it is.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Again, thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol, for all your work on the budget.
Well, thank you. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have. It's going to be different kinds, and Tyler, you've given me a couple already to try and implement for next year, because the goal is to make it easy to understand. So,
Yeah.
I'm open to any suggestions.
Let's appreciate it. Thank you.
Number 12, resolution number 2610, a resolution establishing all fees and charges for the city of Scappoose and rescinding resolution number 25-10, 2026-27 fee resolution. City Manager Ben Bergener, staff report there.
Yeah, this resolution is done each year from the staff to review each of the current fees on the fee schedule and to make cost of living or COLA adjustments based off of well, there's different measures based off of resolutions, whether it's a CPI or construction index. There's different indexing to make sure that we are keeping up with the cost due to inflation. It also gives the time in our current format of typical fees that if there is a small adjustment, for example, they already have fees for plumbers, but they added a fee this year for another visit or a call out. I don't remember the exact, but the way that this is read, by looking at the fee, the staff goes through this table, and at the top, it'll show you what the index is, and they'll also make any comments in red of why the fees were adjusted, whether it's based off of an index or if it's a new fee. This is not a place where we would do something with like a larger fee, like a public safety fee or anything like that. This is just for our standard typical operations. Just keep up with the cost of doing business. So we do have each department head here that can go through their sections to discuss any of the updates they have or to answer any questions the council may have based off of their proposed changes.
Yes, Councilor Sonia.
183. Under the permit fee for private party, it says $50 and 100 of refundable. Is it per day, per event? And also, did that be one for 50 people and the one for 51 people to 250? Because on the private party, it says 250 per day. So can we get a clarification on that? Is it it's $50 per, $50?
What line item is this?
There's no line item. It's under alcohol permit fee.
That's
That's
just parks.
Right, and this is for park use.
This is
Is it
under
per
park.
hour, per day? Per day, okay.
Even
Because
for
we
the
can-
smaller ones. So yeah, per day.
Yeah, so we can, we put it for the 250, if we can just put it for the other two, that would,
So would a permit be granted for multiple days or would it be a permit per day?
that's what I was
'Cause I-
asking.
Yeah, because I read it as that's the permit fee.
Even if it's a week. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to go back. This one's not being changed. That is the current fee as it was written from last year approved.
Probably many years,
Right,
to be honest with you.
It is per day, but let's maybe,
right. We could look at clarification. We need to add that on there, or if they just did a per event for the smaller parties and then they made it per day for the larger parties, just because there's more of an impact. Not sure, but we could look at that. And if it is per day for all of them, we can add that language.
do you know the difference between 50 and 100 refundable deposit? What makes it 50? What makes it 100?
It's the fee is a $50
50,
and then there's
and
a
then-
$100
Okay.
refundable deposit.
Okay. I just.
Yeah.
Okay. And then mostly the proposed changes, most of them have the reasoning at the top. Land use fees index, CPI.
Correct. The majorities are just indexed due to CPI. And it tells you which index it's using.
Is there anything from staff they would like to add before? Probably will have a question or two coming up.
Right, Lori, Laura Oliver, you're on, okay. I know you had the two new ones beyond just the CPI. Do you want to discuss those real quick or? Maybe.
If
Let's
we-
see.
yeah.
Ben, which ones were you referring to?
There's the residential repipe for water or sewer, DWV, all other for fixture.
Yeah, that was just a change that the Building Codes Division asked us to make to just provide further clarification. I think it was just grouped in a different line item previously.
Okay.
I guess one thing that's new this year is just we are indexing the planning fees, which we haven't done in the past, but we felt that, with inflation continuing to be an impact each year, that it's time to go ahead and do that, similar to what we do with building fees and SDCs. So that is one change. It'll just keep our fees, consistent with inflation.
We did approve those fees previously, right?
We did
Or-
not, no, not for
thought we
planning
did.
fees. We have
Engineering fees.
increased, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know, was it, I thought we did, was that with the same meeting with engineering fees or costs?
So we have increased fees in the past, just to, every, say, 5 years or so, make sure, we're in line with similar sized cities. And we did the fee study a number of years ago and did roll up, the majority of our planning fees. However, this is an index. So this is going to look at what was inflation over the previous 12 months and then just add that on to all the planning fees, just to make sure we're keeping up. So incremental small increases, just to keep up with inflation so that we're not doing larger, increases, say in like 5-year, timeframes.
Right, basically the same methodology we do for the majority of our fees.
Are they in here though, showing the new fees anywhere?
It's not a new fee. That's the planning. If you look at what she was talking about under page 187. You got planning department continued and it has a fee schedule. That starts on 186 too.
Right. So they're not new fees. They're just rolling up a slight bit. I believe the increase was 2.7% this year.
Okay. Any more discussion? We will have a public comment on this. So if don't have any discussion at this time, if you would like to come up with the public comment. And be in comment if we do have answers, if any staff has any answers they want to help with, or Ben afterwards, please feel free.
Mayor Backus and members of the City Council, I submitted a written comment regarding this fee resolution, so I will not repeat all of those points tonight. Instead, I would like to address the process residents were expected to follow in order to provide informed feedback. The public notice stated that information related to this hearing was available for review at City Hall by appointment, and that written comments were due by June 8th at 4 p.m., a full week before tonight's public hearing. After seeing that notice, I emailed City Hall seeking information and requesting an opportunity to review the materials related to the fee hearing. When I had not received a response by the afternoon of June 8th, I called City Hall because only a few hours remained before the written comment deadline expired. During that call, I was initially offered the opportunity to leave a voicemail for the city manager. I explained that I was not seeking a conversation with the city manager. I was simply trying to review the materials before the deadline. But shortly after that call, I received a response and was provided some information, and I appreciate that the deadline was later extended. However, after the council packet was released, I found staff reports, analysis, revenue information, and supporting materials that address many of the same questions I had been asking before the written comment deadline. My concern is that residents were expected to submit written comments by June 8th at 4 p.m. before having access to much of the explanatory information later provided to council in the meeting packet. I also note that some of these issues had been discussed in prior meetings, and had the city's normal meeting schedule remain in place, some of this information may have become publicly available earlier through the packet process. This issue becomes even more important when residents are being asked to pay higher fees while city expenditures continue to grow. The budget documents show substantial growth in expenditures over the past several years. For example, the police department budget increased from approximately 2.3 million in fiscal year 2023-24 to more than 4 million in the fiscal year 2026-27 adopted budget, an increase of roughly 75% in just 3 years for a city of approximately 8,400 residents. Residents deserve a clear explanation of how that level of expenditure growth fits into the city's long-term financial plans and whether increasing fees are expected to play a role in supporting it. While reasonable people may disagree on spending priorities, residents should be given clear information about how those expenditures will be funded over time and what roles fees increases, grants, debt obligations, reserve spending, or future revenue increases are expected to play. Residents should also know how much additional revenue these fee increases are expected to generate and what that money is intended to fund. If residents are being asked to pay more, it is reasonable to ask where that money is going and what specific needs it is expected to address. What concerns me most is not simply the fee resolution, it is what the process says about accountability, follow through, and public trust. When residents ask questions, they should receive timely and complete responses. When concerns are raised, there should be meaningful follow through. When information exists that would help the public understand a proposal, that information should be made readily available before decisions are made. Unfortunately, my experience with this process has left me concerned that those principles are not receiving the priority they deserve. I encourage the City Council and City Administration to make transparency and public access to information a higher priority by ensuring supporting documents, fiscal information, staff analysis, and other materials are readily available online before requesting public input or making significant policy decisions. Transparency, accountability, and follow-through are not just principles to be discussed, they're responsibilities owed to the public. And also, for the record, I don't believe that the Urban Grant Renewal Agency for that property that was discussed earlier is resolved. I had back and forth emails with Ben several times, and he just decided to stop responding. I did a records request, and nowhere in the records request did it say who actually said that that property was in compliance. Nobody said that it was. Ben said that it was possibly verbally. Somebody said it possibly. And I feel that there's a lot of lack of transparency going on. And if anybody actually took my statement or paper that I submitted regarding my concerns about that property and looked up the building permits, electrical permits, it's all readily available online. It would show that the sub panel for the unit that I was discussing, that permit expired. And if you look at the other permits for the address 52561 on Columbia River Highway, specifically the record number 192-22-000056, and you read the comments associated with that, it gives a very descriptive analysis that basically states what I said of how it's not up to code.
Alicia, I have a question if I may. Have you filed a complaint with county code enforcement about the electrical violations that you're citing?
I have a few years ago, and I am working on another one currently.
What was the outcome of the complaint that you filed?
basically the county was threatening to turn off power to the entire building. And the building owner was supposed to do other work. It's in the notes in those electrical permits. If you read, one of them in particular has 6 different items, and if you click on each one, there's notes from the inspector of what was supposed to happen and why they haven't enforced it. I'm not sure.
Have you followed up with them?
I'm about to.
Okay. When was the last time you had sent them a communication or heard from them?
It's been a couple years.
Was there a reason why you stopped communicating with them?
Yeah, I had to keep finding a new location for my business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You know, I definitely do agree with some of your things in here. Definitely encourage city council and city administration to make transparency and public access to information a high priority. So that is definitely one of my goals. Now, on the June 8th deadline, just to kind of make sure too, a lot of these deadlines are so the information can get into the packet. Is that correct? I mean, that's all staff has the same kind of deadlines. Get all your stuff in by that time. So, Ben can look at it, make sure everything's done and get it out in the packet so we can get them in a timely manner.
Right, and this was a standard notification that Susan has used for many years. We reviewed it after the fact. It's not a notification for this particular resolution that's required by law. It was a courtesy out of there to notify the residents that we're looking at the fee resolution. The date ahead of time, the assumption is it was originally put in there so that people could get stuff in before packets were sent, their comments, so that that get out to the council. But it's not the deadline of when they can submit those. They're still all the way up till right at this moment at this public hearing that there can be verbal or written comments submitted, just like there is with any agenda item on our packet. So we are going to adjust the deadline for next year to be a little clearer on what that's for. It sounds like there was confusion on that and it wasn't very clear after reviewing that, which is good feedback for sure. So we will make the adjustment to state that more clear, at least for that second part of that deadline, or to consider just setting it out with our regular notice of our agendas and proceed as we normally would.
Can you remind us how those notifications of for the public to give feedback? Where did we post it? Where do we what do we do in order to let residents know they can give feedback?
Right, for something like this, and Susan, you can correct me where you put it. Typically, it's in the newspaper. We put the notification on our Facebook as well, online. Anywhere else, Susan or Carolyn? At the post office as well.
Is that something that we can put in the bill prior? I mean, if it has to do with water, right? We're at water rates and things like that, or increases.
Yeah, I mean, we
That's
put
something
anything with
that-
within our newsletter in the bill. It's just, it's a city services bill. So whether it's water, sewer, or other services,
Right.
we could do that. It'd be printing for every single bill, which does add a fee to that. It's again, not a requirement by law, it's a courtesy. I think the way that they're currently proposing it covers a lot of those areas already. Newspaper postings have a cost to them. So it just all depends on how much added cost you want to put to notify for that. But yeah, or whether we still do a notification ahead of time, or as a standard, all required is just that's part of the agenda. People have the opportunity to comment by the time of the meeting as they would any other agenda item.
I just want to make sure that we get it out there and as much, to get everyone's feedback. But from what I remember in the town meeting, that the feedback that we got was that our residents did want, they were okay with paying more because they wanted the quality of service, right?
Right, and that was directed at public safety and for parks that we talked with the ATM. This fee schedule is just our regular fees that we already have, and it's more to just account for inflation. So this is a separate, more standard based off of historical. We keep, as opposed to waiting 5 to 10 years to make big lump sum changes, keep up with inflation, we just make those regular changes every single year.
What is it? Tell me, what does it mean if we don't increase?
If you don't increase it per inflation, that means that we're not recovering the full cost compared to the year prior. So we are making less revenue compared to the cost. And so we start having a deficit larger than we already have.
Remember that the water sewer, the utility rates are basically, that's a self-supporting fund. They basically run like an outside business. They have to, cover all their costs.
And
including their
future,
debt costs.
future construction. I mean,
Right.
that's kind of.
Right.
So I'm just
Say-
trying to say that it all encompasses the quality of what we're doing is that's why.
And we have a
Right.
plan for infrastructure repair. Because we have got old pipes in there. We have to make sure we cover our costs when we have to replace those costs.
Right, so cost of living indexing basically just says we want to make sure that we are recovering the same equivalent of what the dollar costs today, so that we can pay the same amount of services without having to reduce services or reduce what we are trying to improve.
Okay. thank
It
you.
would be nice maybe in the newsletter at some time, like you do, like where your tax dollar goes, you break down the dollar, maybe you can explain to what, our costs, why they increase and what they're based on.
We can put those, I still have all those, so we can modify and put them back in.
Especially if there's public hearings scheduled that we know about, which is every year's budget type things that maybe public hearings we can put in there. We know well enough in advance that this kind of gives them one more notification. If they're interested in learning more or being part of it, here's scheduled.
So you're thinking about putting the utility, what we're expecting the utility rates to go up in like the utility bill that they get in May? So that they would have it before the June hearing? Is that what you're proposing?
I would like them to know, PUD's doing it all the time. Our rates are going up. They let you know well in advance. Seems like they all do. If we do know that in advance and can notify them ahead of time so they can plan accordingly.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may add in, it's, to me, as someone who doesn't have nor want a Facebook account, I find it increasingly difficult to get information anymore. Our newspaper is no longer locally owned or published. And the way that the information circulates, that newsletter is remarkably valuable. That's one of the most trustworthy items of communication. So to me, even if we'd only reached the save the date type of a notice, we don't have to put exactly what it's going to be, but watch this space. This is going to be coming to you as future information. So be aware and watch for it. We'll get it out as soon as possible, but that puts people on attention that something is going to be coming that you'll want to watch for. And so they then know to watch for it. So just, something simple like that. The idea, I'm absolutely dedicated to the idea that I want more public participation in these meetings. I'd love to see every single one of those chairs filled with people who've read something in advance and came here with an opinion about it. So, the more we can give people to say that, look, this is what's going on, watch for this, this will be coming. Maybe next month you'll see some more information about this thing. And with that, it also generates the value of the newsletter to be something, oh, the bill's here, the newsletter's here, I need to read that newsletter. I realize I realize it sounds old fashioned and old school, but it's quite effective, I think. Especially from old people like me.
Well, I know we've been working on our website and improving it, and that's a way, people can go online and look at these things. If we have a place on our website showing all these important things and just reference them in the newsletter, get them to go online and learn more about it.
Right, it's pretty lengthy to put in
Yeah.
each of these in an actual newsletter compared to the PUD where it's just a few fees that you can identify, but
Maybe should we just do just the utility rates? Obviously, the fee schedule is a little overwhelming, but if we did just the increases for the utility rates.
well, I think there's an interest in any rate. But just having this posted on the web, it's already posted.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying, not put that in the newsletter, but maybe just say, hey, fee resolution's coming out for this meeting.
Hey,
Look
look
for the
here,
packet.
here's the
Yeah.
address, and then
Post it
people can go
online,
there.
but nobody knows that, then it doesn't do us any good.
Yeah.
I can add that to the May, because that's when we wanted the May is,
Newsletter.
we actually what we call April, which you
Right.
pay
Get
in
it in
May,
May.
so.
The majority of this is SDCs or like half of it. So these are all just one-time fees that developers are charged?
The majorities are, yeah.
I'm just curious, like, what's the rationale for charging an adult cabaret $100,000 SBC as opposed to like, you know, a superstore bookstore $40,000 or?
That's a Lori question.
You want to come up, Chris, to the microphone? Chris, you want to come to the microphone?
You're referring to the transportation
Yeah.
SPCs. Yeah. So those are based on trip PM peak hour trip rates that are established by ITE. And it's sort of a national organization that aggregates traffic data based on specific uses. And then they take that data and they publish updates about every 3 years. And so those are really impact fees to our roadway system. And so like a movie theater would have a pretty high number per theater. Daycare is fairly high. But we do look at if it's a unique use, we do allow for them to provide a specific, study based on their own business. And, generally they would have to pay a little more to a traffic engineer to do that. But maybe they have like, maybe it's a coffee place and they have like 5 stores or 3 stores. They could kind of do a study based on their own unique operations and come up with those PM peak hour trip rates. So we would use that number.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, it's fascinating, the range of charges. I guess I would just say that these transportation SDC, like all the SDCs probably are not of interest to the normal Scappoose citizen. Maybe there's a few people that would be interested in that. It's not like, like nobody has to pay these fees unless they're a public fund.
Right, and we're also looking at potentially doing a reformat of how this looks, so it's easier broken down, so you can actually see which ones are like water. It does have its headlines, but we've looked at some different formats that could maybe set, this is great for a council meeting because we want to reduce the amount of pages here, but there are other formats where maybe could separate these a little bit. So when somebody is interested, they can quickly get to the public works ones or to the building or planning, the ones that they are interested in, and review those specifically.
I will add that the transportation SDC list that's like 4 pages. We'll probably try to reformat that for next year so that it's just based on a single cost of a PM peak hour trip. And then because we have the software to look at those individual uses and then determine those rates. And like I said, the actual list gets updated about every 3 years. And so this list is maybe 6 years old. It's out of date. Some of these don't even exist anymore. And then there's a number of new ones. So we kind of already do that. And it's kind of common for agencies to just list the fee. And basically it's a single family residential is that equivalent rate. That's 1 PM peak hour trip. And so basically you just equate everything to that. That's like unity. So you just use that one value. And so that would clean this up. Get rid of about 4 pages.
And are these rates though, are they negotiable or are they like if the city decides they want a certain industry, to focus on something, we want a zoo. We want to waive the SDC fees.
Yeah, our code doesn't allow any waiving of the SDCs currently.
But that is something the council could put in to effect for a specific special something if they want.
We could have a roulette wheel.
Ahead of time.
It's a question of sort of fairness. If you implement them for a project and then say the next year you reinstate them to their full value. If you were to have a discount 1 year and not the next, or for a particular business.
No, I'm not playing.
But you could implement something, but I wouldn't suggest that you do it on a temporary basis.
Right, it'd be something ahead of time put in the code that we want a zoo in Scappoose. So you're going to incentivize it for a couple of years till we get a zoo. If that was really.
So are you saying you're saying we can come up with our own STCs?
So SDCs are put together by a study that says to accommodate either infrastructure we've already put together. so we can do reimbursement, or for future infrastructure, depending on the type of SDC. Engineers put together these estimates of what it's going to cost, and then break that down, what it would be cost for the impact from these developers developing in our town. So it's not put upon our ratepayers, but the developers are paying their fair share, or their actual costs.
Where I'm going with this, for example, I'm just saying, if we can come up with our own, just like, you know, as a city, we can come up with, for example, I could say, hey, we're gonna put SDCs $100 million.
Well, no, that,
Data centers.
right. So I was getting to that is you have to have, you have to have it as a justifiable impact of what their actual impact is. Where the council has some flexibility when they create these tables is there is the chance ahead of time to say, hey, we want to reduce, we can't go above, but we can reduce certain things as a council as part of the process ahead of time, saying for this industry or all of them, we want to do only a certain percentage of that. But acknowledging that if you do that, you're offloading that fee basically onto residents to recoup it in the future.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you know, the fees are essentially created by the city through the master plan process. So there's when we do these master plan updates, we look at infrastructure that needs to be upsized due to new development, replacement, things like that across water, sewer, street, storm, parks. And so the members that are involved in the master plan updates, they look at those needs, and then there's prices put to those projects, and there's priorities based on that. And the cost of those upgrades are what the SDC is based on. Then you divide it up by the number of water meters, or in, you know, for transportation, it's P&P hour trips. And then it's the math that just falls out of that. So that's where they come from. And all of those fee studies, if you look at the master plans, which we have online, each of them will have what they call a CIP list. And it'll be, there'll be a graphic detail of what that is. It'll show you water lines, or it'll be streets, and it'll kind of highlight them. There's a reference number to that. Then there'll be a table that describes it and puts a number to it. And the aggregate total of that CIP list is where the SDCs come from. So essentially, we are picking how much we feel like the cost of these upgrades over 20 years is going to be, and then the fees are based on that. So we're trying to be responsible to the master plans, collect the appropriate amount of money, and spend it on projects like Southeast Vine Street, which is probably going to be in excess of $2 million.
So it's to incentivize development, but can it do the opposite in also restricting types of development?
The SDCs by nature, to some extent, restrict some development because of having to pay the fee. It adds to their costs as a developer.
Right.
But you can't go above what their actual impact is. You have to have the appropriate impacts.
Well, we don't know what that, you know, I'm just giving data centers. We don't know what that is, but, you know, because you're saying what it would be in 20 years. 20 years, it can be a lot of things.
Right. So SDCs are based off the city infrastructure. If you had a data center coming in, typically how that works is they have certain infrastructure needs that they need. And the city goes through and says, we don't have the capacity for this. You have to pay for that. So it's separate from an SDC. It's an actual direct impact of this is what we would normally be able to provide a business. But because you have excess of that, you have excess water needs or excess electric needs or whatever, you're going to have to pay as a company to build the infrastructure above and beyond. Otherwise, we can't serve you. So there is part of the development process already tied to large developments like a data center that typically have a lot higher infrastructure needs and requirements than what we would standard give to our to other developers. Now data centers don't have a huge transportation because they don't have a lot of people coming there. Like it's their typical SDCs or impact on that side is probably a little bit less, but on the water side and on electric, which would be working through the PUD, it's usually a much higher load.
So you're saying, no, we can't make up our
own. not through the SDC process. There are other ways to recoup those costs.
That's all I wanted to, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor President Miller.
So just stepping back here, I'd like to address or kind of walk through for clarification, the police department's change in budget over the last few years. And what I have available to me right now starts in fiscal year 2023 through 2024. And I'm looking at page 116, Bates number, page 55 of the budget. And Chief, I'm gonna, or City Manager, I'll need your confirmation on this, but if I remember correctly, the reason for example, the payroll expenses totaled $1,767,924 in fiscal year 23-24. And now they're for 26-27 fiscal year budget, they're a little over 2.9 million. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the main reason for that significant difference is because our staffing levels during that time were low, and so we didn't have the salary expense and the benefit, the payroll expense is how it's summarized on here, as we have now, because we are getting to where we're fully staffed.
Correct. Those are actual expenses in 23-24. So it's not what the budget was originally, it's what we actually spent. So we had a lot of vacant police positions, as you had mentioned, which is why that payroll was significantly less in those years.
And then I'm looking at collateral costs, or what I consider to be collateral costs for, and I'm just going to pick an example here just for the sake of time, but vehicle maintenance, for example, was 53,395 actual for 23-24 fiscal year. And now, you know, the budgeted amount for 26-27 is 81,770, but it seems to go hand in hand. If you have less officers working, then of course your vehicle expense is likely to be less than. Is that a correct statement?
Correct. And you can look at 24, 24, 25 as well.
Okay.
Just year over year, it actually went up to 78,000 for the vehicle maintenance. So it could be, quite a bit difference depending on how many officers you have, or if a certain vehicle breaks that year, depending on what the damage may be or what they have to maintain. As the fleet ages, more maintenance is required. So if we have newer vehicles, there's less of these. Older vehicles, higher maintenance costs. So it is a combination of both. And you can see back in 25, 26, it went back down to 61. So it kind of fluctuates depending on that range between 50 and 80, depending on the year of what type of maintenance was needed for the vehicles.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all these, but just wanted to provide a little bit of context as to why there's a pretty significant variation. I think if I remember correctly, it was stated like 75%. But another reason here too is, for example, we added $400,000 in for the radios, and that was actually, that's a grant that we got. And so that was added into the 26-27 fiscal year that we didn't have previously, because that's basically capital project that will, and that equipment will last approximately 8 to 12 years. So that's not an expense that we will have every year. And this year we were very fortunate to be awarded that $400,000 grant. So that of course inflated the budget by $400,000 as well.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we're pretty close to done on the 25-26 estimate of 2.1 million. It's probably close to that. Almost done with the budget year.
Yeah, maybe so.
And we're better staffed than we were a year ago, a year before that. I mean, we're higher
Correct.
staffed, so our numbers are going up, but they're still below our goal,
Yeah, it's still below the budget.
below the number of officers.
The goal is to have the budget be more than what we spend, because we don't want to have to come back to you for a supplemental budget if we run over. So we try to, so our budget's always going to be higher than what we anticipate to spend. And the chief's been really good about watching the expenses, you know, to make sure that we come and say, we have this money, right? And, you know, so he's been really good about trying to keep the expense.
I feel coming out of COVID is really hard to get staff, fully staffed, especially with experience, laterals, maintain, retain. And we've been struggling to do that, but we've signed the new contract the last couple of years. We've done a great job of retaining and getting laterals. I mean, it really shows growth, but that does cost more to get to the level we want to be at. So we're working towards.
I am really curious about the significant jump in insurance premium. And it would be great to have CCIS come in and do another review of our policies like we did in previous years, just as a catch up for some of the counselors who were not present for that.
Right, the fee, are you talking between 25, 26, and 26, 27? It's got about a $3,000 increase.
No,
300.
insurance.
Right, I'm just looking at the
300,000.
insurance.
No, I see, for insurance, I see.
Are you talking
for-
health insurance or regular insurance?
I'm looking at, the one ending in the line item ending in 238.
Right, that's what I thought. Actually, if you look at the 23, 24, just how we did the budget before, a lot of those costs were in admin. Back last year, 25, 26, we spread those out to what the actual costs were. So it wasn't an actual huge jump. It's just reallocation where they showed to be more transparent
Okay,
of the actual cost for that department.
yeah, I remember that now. It's,
We're finding that more and more. Pretty soon those will be out of the system and they'll all be.
Right, and then you could look at the transfers and, because once again, it wasn't showing as, 25 or 23, 24 is 105,000 compared to only 6,000 in 25, 26. That's because we moved that insurance cost where it should be. So they didn't have to do the fund transfer back to administration, which was paying it total before.
yeah.
So it's
and
still the same cost, but just.
I think that was part of the conversation that Carol and I had about putting upfront in the budget message too, about putting the significant increases or new capital improvement projects for each department and either like your budget letter or a table or something in future year budgets. And then, of course, things like this, or like we're talking about right now, where expenses were previously all lumped into like admin, like you just got done explaining, but then we're divvied out across the different departments. Those are the types of things that we can include in there too.
Right, and I did have that in my budget message last year when we made the change.
Okay.
I don't remember if I took it out this year or left it in, but that could be a point to at
Yeah.
least leave it in until it cycles through so that jump is clear every single year, even though we didn't make it this year. It was last year that we made those changes.
Yeah,
No, it's a
'cause-
good point because, when you just look at the numbers, it's like, what happened? I forgot. You have to go back to last year's budget to read it.
Yeah, and
If I
even
didn't-
I forgot.
If I didn't leave it in the budget message, which I don't remember on this one if I did.
Suggestion.
Sure.
You know, that kind of document some of those to make them a little more transparent when we go.
Right.
So you don't have to look through the whole 120 pages.
There's no more questions, discussions. I almost missed it, but I'm looking for someone to make a motion to approve resolution 2610.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve, measure 2610.
Council Marquis makes a motion to approve resolution 2610. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Councilor Santiago. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kevin, for all that. And, okay, on to the calendar, July 3rd, city offices are closed every Saturday in July, farmer's market 9 to 2. Right now, no council meeting July 6th. Outdoor festival scheduled for July 11th, 9 to 3. City council meeting starts at 6 p.m. on July 20th. Please note start time. We're doing that UGB 50-year plan discussion, so we are going to start early on that week for July. Updates, any updates? Student rep Michael?
School's over.
School's out. Still excited, all right.
Hello, Michael, welcome.
Okay, well, we'll move on to city manager Ben.
Yeah, just a few updates. Reminder from last meeting, I will be out at the OCCMA conference the week of July 6th. Accessible by phone if you need me, but we'll be gone that week. Also, just echoing your message at the beginning of this meeting about City Administrator John Walsh. He was a really good peer that I got to work with. He was a really sincere and good public servant that I had the pleasure to work with for quite some time. So I just wanted to express my gratitude for him and his family for the service he did do for the community in St. Helens, as well as the collaboration that we had with him as well. Beyond, so thank you, John Walsh. You will be missed. Any questions on any of the department head updates?
Did we go through?
Yeah. Well, we have an executive session still coming
Ah,
up.
that's
Right.
what it is. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have any at this time. I probably will as we go on. All right, thanks for answer today. Thank you. Police chief.
Yes, good afternoon. Mayor, councilors. My microphone's dead, so I'm not speaking a little louder right now. Just for a couple things for us, this first updates. So just for our first updates for us.
I don't think it's on. Is it on?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Good.
Just for personnel updates for the police department, we have one of our officers who was hired last year. He now to be a solo status officer, which has been Salem and also months of built. Still have one of our officers here on the 30th. This is just why we just continue to work, hopefully next year to cover. They're put out there by themselves first and fellow officer. So they have any so the job. Our fun festival was canceled. Showing up. Right now, unless there's any.
No, but congratulations on being recognized by the state of Oregon's Department of Emergency Management for a CERT team. Appreciate that very much.
So officially recognized by the state of Oregon. So it's good to hear that and just especially for the volunteers who've been coming over the month. And continue to move forward. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Counselor, start with Mr. Ryuta.
I don't have anything to report this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Counselor Marquis.
Likewise, nothing to report.
You. Counselor Haugen.
I'd like to echo your comments and Manager Bergener's comments about John Walsh, a real class act. And I think I would like us to do something to memorialize that and give that to St. Helens, and because that he's been there for I think 15 years last time I talked with him, which is pretty unusual for a city manager. But he's just been, I've known him for a long time, and he's going to be dearly missed. On a school board, I missed the last school board meeting because I was out of town, but I will be at the next one. And that'll be interesting because it'll be conveying the plans for their middle school bond proposal. So that'll be interesting if you're interested in that. And then a note that our outgoing student rep, Tyler Ferreira, sent me a note that he'll be at the last meeting in July, so July 20th. So if we want to do something for him at that time, that'd be great. And again, welcome to Michael. That'd be a wonderful addition. And that's it.
Great. Thank you. Counselor Saniaga.
I just want to say welcome, Michael, again. And again, my condolences to Mr. Walsh's family and friends, and hope they're just sending my personal prayers. And I did want to say something, and I just lost my train. Lost it.
It comes back.
I just lost it. Gosh, okay, it'll come back to me. I don't know.
You know, Council President, no.
I don't have anything other than to echo the sentiments about John Walsh, and I talked to Mayor Massey a few times yesterday to also express our condolences, and of course, let us know if the city of Scappoose can help them out in any way. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I've already read my little statement on Mr. Walsh. I do have Outdoor Fun Festival on July 11th. And I need to talk to you guys about setting up a canopy because I am going to be out of town. I've heard another one or two are going to be out of town. I'll send out an email, but if we have kind of too many out of town, we might have to pass on the canopy and staging it. I'll talk to you guys about that. I did want to have some things here for Mr. Ryuta. Very grateful thank you from a third grade class. All the binoculars you donated. I thought I definitely should put this online. The whole class signed cards and made you some cards.
Thank you
So
very much.
appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Made a big impression on a bunch of third graders, so it's very nice of you there.
I do have to
Before
add,
you close, I'm sorry, before you close, I did remember what I wanted to say. I know lately there's been a lot of accidents on Highway 30 and I know it's beautiful, it's summer. You guys just have to slow down, be careful, be cautious of each other because I don't know, Highway 30 is scary, but lately there's been a lot of accidents. Last time you were coming in from a meeting and you were just in an accident, chief, and I'm like, wow. So, so just be careful, drive safely, drive the speed limit.
One more, look twice, look 3 times now
Yes.
before you pop.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Counselor Berger, or city manager.
I was just gonna say, I actually had the opportunity to go bird watching with Counselor Iota, and if you ever get the opportunity, it is a pleasure. He's pretty good at what he does. He is very knowledgeable at that, and it makes it. I had my kids with me, and it's a whole new experiencing going with somebody who knows what they're talking about and can identify birds without their binoculars like a mile away. Like I don't know how he does it, but by the sound, by the way they move, by color, I mean, just every way, it's really fascinating.
Speaks a language, he knows what they're saying.
Yeah.
Can you get tourist, they could tourist things like, like.
Right, we should
Right?
make some money off of
Make
that.
some money.
This easy trail and out to Chapman.
Get some Oregon travel dollars.
Travel Oregon. Yeah.
Travel Oregon dollars.
And then before I left you, we're gonna go into executive session to talk about some real property. But I wanted to thank NJ Johnson. Congratulations. We don't have anything, so you're gonna have to come back next meeting. It's definitely been a pleasure working with you here and don't be a stranger and we'll see you at all the meetings.
Why were we
We're gonna
congratulating
throw
him?
some breadcrumbs.
Why we
that you didn't
congratulate
hear
him?
me so often.
He left to take over a city manager job at Clascana. He's taking
Wow.
it over, so he's moving up. Appreciate it. All your hard work is paid off and I'm sure we'll see you down the road. So appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm gonna, yes. Yes. I
Can't do it
can't,
for
but
me?
somebody else.
Sure. I make a motion the council extend the meeting past 9 PM.
Motion by Council President Miller to extend the meeting past 9 PM if needed. Any seconds?
Second.
Councilor Haugen seconds. All those, any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna go to executive session, purpose of 192.660-2-E, real property transactions. Representatives of news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision will be made in the executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back in the room. And we could have a decision or a vote afterwards in open session, so we will reopen. Okay, we are now closed. We almost are gonna get done by 9, so.
Hey, let's go. Yeah, this took a minute.